Hello, and welcome back for those joining me again. And hello to anyone if this is your first time finding one of these videos. So, I believe there's something that I need to explain before I really get into this. One, it's actually not only been a lot going on in the world, around the world, but in my personal life as well, but that's neither here nor there. What I came to speak to you about today is the power of influence. So, influence is a very, I guess, typical word. Most people wouldn't be confused about what it actually means. But in the context that I will use it before the end of this video, hopefully that it does have at least a slightly deeper meaning to you. That will be the purpose of this. Also, I'd like to start off by saying that there are different ways to be awakened or be woke, as they have termed the phrase these days. So, I guess one of the ways that I would want to name here is being aware. Being awakened and being aware are kind of two different things, but I think with the way that they have embedded the information in the culture today, it's actually, I think people are getting those two things kind of entangled, so to speak. So I would like to kind of, break that down and kind of detangle it a little bit, if that's okay, with my listeners today. So, when it comes to being awake, that's actually more of a spiritual term. It means that you are in tune with basically a higher level of consciousness and a higher level of awareness of your own actions and the way that they affect others. And just a knack for overall doing right versus wrong. That would be my main take on it. So, yeah. Today, there are a lot of different ways to be quote unquote woke or aware, should I call it? That's what I call it anyway. A lot of people are financially aware of the situation that they're in and their communities are in, and that's great. And politically aware of the situation that their community is in or undergoing because of the political choices made and the amount of people that actually do vote and don't vote, and the people that are aware of how much your local politicians do influence the good and the bad that's going on in your area. And it could be, for example, something a little bit more or less, I guess people would tend to say important, with the ways that police behave, which is very important actually. But, like stuff like the roads and things that are allowed or disallowed in the schools, and, taxes and other things that may affect you that you may not know how it affects you immediately because you never really paid attention to it. But that's just for example. So being politically aware or is one thing, and then some of us are, financially aware. We see that the situations that some of our communities are in are due to the actual systemic patterns that have been going on for a long time and have placed certain demographics in particular situations. Some of us are demographically aware as well. We do realize that the areas and the parts of town that we live in are subject to more criminal activity, among other things as well. Definitely the criminal aspect is one thing to pay attention to. And then, what else? I did say financially aware. So we do understand that demographically in our communities, some of us are, and geographically, placed in certain parts of the city and where the infrastructure is lacking, to say the least. Of course, when they do decide to upgrade the infrastructure more or less, a lot of the times they make it to where the original persons in that demographic would no longer fit in, feel comfortable, or be able to afford it nonetheless. So, but that's all a part of the system that we're dealing with as well. So, so you have your people that are also aware of the systemic racism that still exists within this country. So, those are all very nice things to be aware of. And I'm still going to get to influence. I know some of you guys are like, well, I thought you said you're going to talk about influence. I'm going to talk about influence. Give me a second. But those are just some of the things to be aware of, more or less. So now, being awakened spiritually is allowing yourself to see and feel different energies from people, seeing through things and putting things together from a righteous, more or less type of standpoint. Not to say that anyone's more right or righteous than anyone else. It's just that because we all have, our ways and our days. But it's more or less when you constantly, consistently have a view that would be different from most, and just based on the way that you look at things with your heart and your spirit versus your eyes and your mind. The way you look at things with your soul. Being spiritually awakened is actually meaning that your soul is awakening. So, I did want to make sure that we understood that there is a difference between being aware and being awake. When you're spiritually awake, you clearly see all of the other things that people are aware of when it comes to how one part of the city in some major urban areas is constantly at war 24/7, and then other part of the cities, it's kind of everything's is sunshine, roses, and birds twerping, I guess twerping, chirping, and singing and that sort of thing, and everything is a-okay, and there's just no problems, no worries, and they don't necessarily pay attention to what's going on the other side of the town because it just doesn't doesn't affect them in the same way. It doesn't cross that line. They don't have to worry about certain things. So it never comes up. They kind of ignore it, shove it under a rug, and say, hey, they know what they're doing to themselves. They should stop doing that to themselves, right? Never really paying attention or taking account for the situation that some people are made to live with, more or less. So basically what I'm saying is it's very easy to be aware because they have no choice but to put it directly in our faces so we can at least have a chance to get it understood. A lot of times we don't get it understood, but I'm actually here to help you with that. And some people think that, this doesn't matter or that doesn't matter, or I'm not voting or I'm not doing this or I'm not doing that. And it really doesn't matter because it doesn't affect me anyway. Well, actually, eventually, one way or another, directly or indirectly, it does. It does actually affect you. And it's kind of sad to see that some people don't grasp that. But when it comes to political awareness, financial awareness, demographic awareness of what's going on around you, it's kind of like when you're spiritually aware, you already automatically put it in your head. It's a puzzle. It's actually like a puzzle, and you really don't get it, so to speak, until you put all of the puzzle pieces together, until you put everything into perspective. So I did kind of want to just slow it down for you guys today and kind of tone it back, because I believe that a lot of what I say will initially not register quickly with most people. Not to say that what I'm saying is difficult to understand. It's just that it's more than one way to skin a cat, so to speak. So I did want to bring you that information. Being woke and the woke culture and the woke culture counseling and all that, that is basically a slap in the face of being spiritually awakened. That is the most, some of the most disrespectful commentary that you'll ever see when you hear awakeness being called wokeness and being politicized. Now, I did see an interesting video about a Foot Locker commercial where basically the world was ending, but everybody was cool with it because they were getting the new kicks and the new shoes and, the new outfits. And it was, it was cool. Everything was all right. Nothing else mattered as long as they had the flyest kicks and the flyest clothes. And that's sadly but truly a lot of what people are caught up in. They're caught up in the material and the physical, so to speak, part of the world. Man, I can't wait to get to that. The world. But what I'm saying is, there is a lot more, I guess, wholesome, a lot more important things that we have that are given to us as gifts daily that we do not cherish and we do not pay attention to whatsoever, because we are constantly, consistently barraged and battered with paying attention to what the world wants to see, and what the world thinks is important. Even though if you really think about it, it's not all that important. It's not anything to really, I guess, hang your hat on, so to speak. It's not. It's really not. The things that we are gifted naturally and awarded naturally are actually a lot more valuable at the end of the day. So that's why I'm going to come to influence. So basically, if I'm able to, let's say I'm some entity or some person, if I'm some thing or whatever I am, let's say that my whole purpose is to, sorry about that little camera flick, but if my whole purpose is to get you to be influenced by certain things and believe that certain things are important, and then I don't necessarily have to worry so much about you being aware or awake about what's really going on around you, because I continue to bombard you through media and social media with all of the things that you should think are important, funny, nice, flashy, whatever you want to call it. But if I continue to bombard you with those things 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, you will begin to lose touch with what's really important. And that's been a sociological experiment that's been placed upon the masses for a very, very long time. It's worldwide. It's not just in one place or another. I will say that. Also, it's that if the things that I'm influencing you to pay attention to, hold value to, and become important to you, they actually come more important than anything else around you, even yourself. Sometimes, or a lot of times, or what I'm seeing for the most part, are people putting the influences of mass media, social media, and others, and things that they saw other people do or other people have. They put that influence so high and take it so seriously that they actually end up destroying themselves and destroying others, trying to achieve what they saw as a part of that influence. Now, the trick is influence can go both ways. And the spiritually awake are not easily influenced. They're not easily, taken down the path of, just doing whatever you got to do to appease the eye or please the eye, or they're a lot more in tune with their intellectual thoughts, intellectual properties, sustaining their mental and inner peace versus going out and doing whatever everybody else is thinking is cool, fun, funny, and okay. Whether, even if you know from the time that you were taught to walk and talk that this was wrong, the influence of the world that we live in today is actually strong enough to make you forget about what you were originally taught. And it's kind of sad. It's kind of scary as well. But influence does go both ways. So if you can be influenced to do the wrong thing, you can also be influenced to do the right thing. But in the mass media, social media world that we live in today, and it has been under development as a experiment for a long time as well, the influence of doing the wrong thing is so much greater and overwhelming than the right thing that it's not even comparable. It's not even close. Even a lot of the so-called religious or churches or things that they practice are actually not the way that they were truly intended to be. And people that believe that they are doing the right thing, the righteous thing, or doing what they are supposed to do, are actually still doing the exact opposite of that. And I guess that's what makes it hard to understand how so many things are going wrong when so many people feel that they're trying to do right, but they don't understand that they're actually doing wrong as well. They're actually giving power to the wrong side by not understanding the truth, by not, knowing the truth. The lack of knowledge, my people shall perish. Yes, because the thing about being influenced to do good is just that. It's good. It's not going to change. It's like the truth. But the influence of doing something wrong, even though it may seem like it was good, that's called the deception. And we're actually dealing with a powerful, powerful deceiver. And their influence is ever wide reaching, and it's very, very, very strong. But what I think I really want everyone to understand about influence is that's all we have to work with. So if I can influence you to do the wrong thing, and I don't really have to worry about you doing the right thing, then if that was my purpose, then my job is done. Now I can focus on doing other wrong things, and I can actually get you to help me pay for it by influencing you to buy things that you don't need and basically chase after money and shiny things that you believe other people will hold value in you for, instead of actually holding value within yourself. So it's a very, very tricky thing. And it's actually been the downfall of a certain demographic for a very long time. Now, if they were to ever awaken or wake up or realize or be aware of that, then all of the tables would turn. Everything would change, and it would change rather quickly. But the influence is very strong. It's a spiritual influence, not just a physical influence, not just what you see on TV. It's actually to the point to where the deceiver has found a way to get you to think that you are praising or worshiping the Most High and the Creator of all things, and you're actually praising and worshiping the deceiver. And I know that's a little scarier for some of us. I know that's a little deep for this video, but it's all about influence. So basically, this side can't actually touch you unless you allow the influence of what you've seen and heard to sway you so much that way that you're gobbled up in it. And the other side, even the good side, can't actually touch you at all, but it can influence you. But the world that we live in is being ran by the deceiver. So a lot of the stuff that we see and a lot of the stuff that we hear is actually just deceiving us to go down the wrong path. And a lot of people don't realize that, and they probably never will. Now, this video probably isn't going to reach a lot of people because I noticed something that I saw scrolling down YouTube the other day. It says that they try to keep I guess they call it borderline content, or content that doesn't fit their narrative, so to speak. They try to basically keep people from seeing it. So there's a good chance that a lot of people are not even going to get a chance to scroll past this video. But if you do, I really thank you for stopping by and checking in on this message. I'm really trying to get you to understand that, I'll say it again, being politically awakened, financially awakened, and systematically racism awakened, and what physically awakened, what they're putting in the foods, that's great. Being, awakened to, the way that they try to, put certain things on one side of town that's not on another side of town, that's great. But when you're spiritually awakened, you notice that you're you have a choice to not be deceived and not to follow the influence of the deceiver. If you're not spiritually awakened, you kind of just go along and say, hey, well, everybody else is doing it. Well, why don't I do it too? That's why I will never be in a rush to actually put out content, because the information, the knowledge, the wisdom, the experience that I have, I really don't have to be in a rush. There won't be anyone speaking on the topics that I'm speaking on. And it's really likely because YouTube, and I'm going to keep posting, but I don't care, but it's really likely because they don't want anyone to see this information, and that's okay with me. But blessed are those who find it. And it's not going to stop. So I really do appreciate you listening to me today. I just try to stay away from negative influences. If it walks like a duck, talk like a duck, and quack like a duck, then there's a great chance that it's actually a duck. So if it feels wrong, if it sounds wrong, if it seems wrong, if it seems negative, if it sounds negative, if it appears negative, then it's negative. And if it's negative and it's wrong and it's not right and it's not righteous and it's not of the Most High and the Creator of all things. And those are the things that you should sway away from. Those are the things that you should stop doing. Those are the things that you should not do. Everything else is of the great deceiver. And you're actually, every time that you take part in those things, even though you go to church the next day, you've actually given the deceiver a lot more power. And then you go to church on the wrong day, but that's a whole nother video. You're giving the deceiver a lot more power than you may even realize at that time by participating in certain acts and doing certain things, but they can't make you do anything. You understand that? The free will and the free choice that we were given is a part of the reason why we are under attack and why the deceiver is so jealous of us to begin with. We actually have a chance to be forgiven, redeemed, repent, and move forward as long as we don't go back. I believe that this is just a belief. I could be wrong. But the great deceiver actually disobeyed one time and got cast off forever. So they decided to make our lives a living hell. Anyways, if you follow the influence of good, good is like truth. It can't change, it can't hide, it can't do anything but be good. So just make sure that you're following positive influence and following good things and doing righteous things that you know are good in your heart. You know, like if you have to ask yourself if this is okay, or if you have to ask for forgiveness for something before you even do it, or right after you do it, or while you're doing it, or if you feel bad, it's not a good thing. It's just really not. So please do keep that in mind. And thank you so much for watching. For those who did get a chance to find this, and do enjoy the rest of your day, or your night, or your morning, or whenever this may find you. And be blessed. May the Most High and the Creator of all things be with you always. You guys take care. And gals and everyone else. It's not all black and white. It is a gray area. And I'm trying to basically explain that gray area. It's going to be a little bit tougher, a little bit harder than I first imagined. And so I've got to slow it down and break it down, one by one for you. But I appreciate you stopping by and spending this time with me this evening. And like I said, thank you. Thank you so much.